Now I am. Right on. Good evening, everybody. No, never mind. Let's let Jeffrey. Okay, from the top. Good evening. Welcome to this regular meeting of the Truckee-Donner Public Utility District for Wednesday, September 7th. Could we get a roll call, please?
President Finn.
Here.
Director Aguirre.
Here.
Vice President Bender.
Here.
Director Laliotis.
Here.
Director Harris.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Pledge of Allegiance. As you're willing and able, please stand and join us. Director Bender, since you're back.
I'm back. Ready? Begin. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Brian, do we have any changes to the agenda this evening?
President Finn, we do have one change. Staff would like to move item number 10 that's currently on the consent calendar to an action item for further. Staff has basically developed a presentation that we think it justifies additional conversation. So we'd like to pull item number 10 and make it an action item this evening.
Will do. Thank you. And public comments. So this is time that is set aside for the public to comment on any item that is not on the agenda. Any agendized items should be addressed at the time that item is presented. Do we have any public comment this evening?
No, Madam President.
Seeing none in front of me either. Moving us into director updates. This is the time for directors to comment on anything under the purview of the district. Do we have any director comments this evening?
Did you say we're going to move number 10 to where?
It's going to become an action item. So it's probably the first action item. Yes, it will be the first action item tonight.
Okay.
Okay. I'll work my way down the line. Director Bender? Director Laliotis?
I just want to acknowledge my fellow board member, Krista Finn, that she put her name back in the hat for another 4 years, and I want to thank you for making the effort to dedicate another 4 years of service to this community. So, and congratulations, since there's no other person running.
Ditto. I was going to make the exact same comment, but with you.
So, thank you for your service and continued service.
Congratulations.
And just thank you to all the crews out there. We're getting to that time of year where everyone's starting to beat each other over the head with need to get things done. And traffic and road construction and everything else on top of that is adding to the frustration. So I want to recognize all of our staff and crews for all their hard work that they've had all summer and as we get into this crunch time moving forward. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Director Laliotis. And thank you for your kind words. Director Harris?
Yes, I want to congratulate the two of you for running a great campaign, I guess. But most of all, I don't get a chance to talk to crews very often, and I just wanted to thank the crews and the staff for all their work, hard work, over the summertime in the heat, in trying to keep us operational as best they can. I know along the way there's a lot of work going on around town, and next door is always an interesting read, but I appreciate management addressing any concerns that may come up, but also just thank you to the crews and the frontline staff, customer service for dealing with any concerns that come in.
Thank you, Director Harris. And I also have a comment, and it sounds like we're all on the same page this evening. I was going to thank Director Laliotis for throwing his hat back in the ring and continuing again to serve this community. And I really wanted to thank staff, everybody that's here tonight, everybody that's not here tonight, our HR, our customer service, our IT, our crews, our linemen, because I strongly suspect it is your excellent work that is making people not pay attention to me And I really appreciate that. I'm really grateful for the excellent job that you guys do day in and day out. And it extends well beyond my sort of personal selfish sentiment. I don't know if you guys, if everybody's been paying attention to the news lately, and the U.S. has had 3,000-year floods in the past 3 weeks. Texas, Mississippi, Kentucky, bridges are gone, roads are gone, people are gone. We are right now suffering under a heat dome that has moved, it was in the southwest for a good long while, and now it's over the west for us. And heat is the number one weather-related cause of death. It's no joking matter. We are looking at a triple-dip La Nina coming towards us this winter, so who knows what that's going to do. I would definitely fasten your seatbelt. But it's going to be an interesting year, and it's going to continue. And this is why you are embarking on sort of an ambitious capital improvement plan for both our water and our electric services, that we are improving and hardening and adding redundancy to all of our systems. It's so that we can weather the weather that we know is coming towards us. And it's you guys that are carrying this work forward. And equally importantly, at the same time, this district is addressing the root cause. We are moving away from fossil fuels and towards 100% renewable energy as quickly as we can, because, we're the ones that created this climate. We're the ones that have done this by burning fossil fuels, and it is time to stop. When you find yourself in a hole, what they say, stop digging is the first thing, stop digging. So we're working as fast as we can to stop digging. And we also know that the only durable fix is to move to renewables. So when the time comes for us to do more than just stop digging and to actually start filling that hole in, I know that we're going to be up to that challenge as well. The natural world is a powerful ally, and doing things like identifying opportunities for us to partner with entities like the Watershed Council, like our last meeting was brought before the board, to help us repair those systems. That moves all of us forward to a better place. So I just want to congratulate you all for continuing to expand your definition of yourselves and dealing with all of this change, and change begets change, and I'm just very proud and happy to be in this with you all. So thank you very much. That's my comment for this evening.
I just wanted to add one more thing. And, we've made a lot of tough decisions to spend some money lately. And, what we see going on in Jackson, Mississippi, is there's a lot of reasons what's going on out there, but the bottom line is a lack of reinvestment in their infrastructure. And so just want to reassure our customers and our public and our staff who's working hard to make sure we're reinvesting in our infrastructure to keep our infrastructure reliable, redundant, there when we need it, improve our fire protection resources. So, just goes to show that lack of investment in our infrastructure can lead to catastrophic issues. And the fact that these people don't have drinking water is, in this country, is a horrible thing, and which is why we stand here and make these tough decisions to spend that money to try and make sure that we have the redundancy and reliability. So everyone should be proud of the work we do here and the tough decisions we have to make sure that that happens. So.
Thank you, Director Lally. That's exactly. Okay, that brings us to our general manager's update this evening.
Thank you, President Finn. I want to start off with announcement of a new hire. I usually hold this off to the end of the announcements, and I forget. And so this time, I'm going to make sure that I do this up front. The district is proud and happy to have on board our new electric utility engineering manager, Hisham Noman. Hisham comes from Colorado Springs to join our team. I believe his first day was yesterday, and we're already putting the gloves on and getting the hard work done already. So I want to welcome Hisham. You'll see more of him in the months to come, and some of the great work we already have underway. Hisham is going to be a great resource and support for that. The next update I wanted to touch base on is there's, as everyone is aware of, the recent California energy crisis or challenges that we've seen in the news across our state and really across the western states region. Couple of updates. Cal ISO has experienced some of the highest energy demand loads on record over the last weekend. Yesterday was a peak demand that exceeded 52,000 megawatts, which is a new record for them. There is some great wins and great stories behind this. While California continues to face a resource adequacy problem or issue, there was some good wins in there in terms of collaboration and effort in emergency response. We have worked, we work with agencies like the California Municipal Utility Association, Aqua, NCPA. We work closely with our pooled energy generation partners. In California is much the same way. They announced yesterday evening around 5:45, Cal ISO issued a wireless communication emergency alert for a load reduction. And this was to all participating members within that Cal ISO grid. And they experienced within a half hour a 2,400 megawatt drop in load that helped them inch through, which was really an EEA level 3 announcement that they, load shedding or blackouts were imminent. And so that participation across the state is pretty remarkable and a testament to that collaborative across our public agencies, public power partners and the IOUs. In terms of the PUD's status and, kind of the challenges we faced, our team has put out a lot of public communication through social media, email, our website on what impact we can have locally with conservation efforts. And while we're not on the Cal ISO grid, we're a transmission-dependent utility with our UAMPS pooled power supply. We still have the opportunity to have a measurable impact on the western region's energy load. And I want to, commend our local ratepayers and customers for participating in that everywhere we can. And that just means, conserving or being efficient in our energy use during those high demand periods between 5 and 10 p.m. that become a challenge for all of our energy suppliers. And so while we're not part of Cal ISO specifically, we are a participant in the larger Western region energy pool. With that, one of the things I also wanted to update the board on related to that is with the high demand and the kind of the energy resource adequacy issues, the open market pool becomes expensive. And Mr. Horvath, our utility director, will have a presentation later this evening on the status of our Red Mesa solar project. The delays in that project, as we mentioned in previous board presentations and the budget updates, the delay in that project combined with the reduced energy production in the hydroelectric field have created a need for the PUD to go out through our UAMPS procurement partners into the open market. And those open market prices have elevated significantly. We're typically talking somewhere in the 60, 90, maybe $100 per megawatt. Over the weekend during the high demand, UAMPS saw prices on the open market of $800 a megawatt. And that's not insignificant. And so while we don't know the net impact to the district's procurement budget for energy, we will know once the numbers come in for August and September. As we mentioned during the budget update in July, there's definitely going to be an exceedance of budget in terms of energy procurement for 2022 and likely 2023. The board does have provisions in district code for rate stabilization funds, reserve funds for rates. The board will have, with staff's, recommendations and presentations, an opportunity to make a decision later on in the year on how we want to address that overage in procurement. But it's something that, we need to continuously be reminded of, that those other procurement agreements that we have, those forecasted procurements 3, 5, 10 years out are really important for maintaining those stable rates here for our energy customers. Part of that also is, the local community's participation and acknowledgement in water conservation. One of the major consumers of energy in California and the western states is pumping of water. And so one of the ways we can really have a dramatic impact on energy conservation is water conservation. And so you see the signs we have out on Donner Pass Road and I think Glenshire Drive, kind of giving some of the details on the statewide mandate for water use reduction. California and the western regions are in a drought, and so that precious resource of water is important that we maintain that rich basin here locally, but also in the larger energy perspective, reduction in water use also is a reduction in energy demand. So want to thank the community for acknowledging that, being cognizant of it, and participating in our overall reductions. Early numbers for, to date in 2022, we're seeing about a 16 to 18% reduction in water use compared to last year. So again, thank you to the community for being active in that. It's very important. Kind of to shift gears a little bit, staff participates through our kind of government advocacy groups, our JPAs, and having a voice in California legislation. We recently were given a legislative update or summary coming out of the recent sessions. We're continuing to monitor specific regulatory issues or initiatives such as the Advanced Clean Fleet Rule. I want to thank all of our public agency partners in the Truckee-Tahoe Basin for participating in a local collaborative voice on some of the challenges that we as public agencies will face in the future with kind of the expedited clean fleet regulations in terms of our emergency response vehicles and infrastructure. We are fortunate enough to have some scheduling of tours by CARB staff and local legislators here locally with our participating agencies. It'll be a great opportunity to demonstrate to those folks exactly the type of terrain and challenges we face here in the Truckee-Tahoe Basin. And, definitely have an opportunity to show some of those winter photos of Stormageddon in 2016 and recently in December of 2021, what our crews and staff face in terms of keeping the lights on, keeping the water running, and how critically important those vehicles and equipment are to achieving that. And so we're very much looking forward to CARB and legislative staff to come hang out with us for a day or so and really see what challenges we have. A couple of the other legislative challenges that are in front of us and continue to be the water loss performance standards. The district is working with a couple of other public partners in our region to really kind of build out and develop our water loss performance plan and evaluate the models that the district will have in place for water loss reduction over the next 5 to 10 years. Wanted to piggyback on some of the board comments on staff work over the summer. I echo the sentiments. It's been an incredible summer. A lot has gotten done. It started with board approval of the very aggressive capital improvement plan and some of our maintenance projects over the next 10 years. And as you've all mentioned, the heat has put an additional demand on them physically, but also just the coordination of getting a lot of work done at the same time. And really what we forget, because we live here locally and we experience it in all aspects of our life, but how short the construction season is in the Truckee-Tahoe Basin and how much staff and crews out in the field have to get done in a short window of time. And this extends beyond just the PUD staff. We've had Caltrans projects. We've had Town of Truckee, the Glenshire paving project, the roundabout projects. We've had water main replacement projects, pole replacement projects. And so there's a lot of collaborative effort in coordinating projects, not interfere with each other. And the public really has a role in this and keeping those streets safe. Be patient. There's a lot of work being done. There's a lot of traffic delays. We've seen it on Interstate 80. We've seen it on Donner Pass Road. We've seen it everywhere. And it can be really frustrating, but kind of asking everyone to reach back into their Truckee mountain life. We're not in a hurry. Where we can relax, we can get there in time, but also making sure that we're keeping those crews safe in the street. All of those signs and delineations are really important, but really it's the public participation, slowing, keeping the speeds down, paying attention, and helping our crews get home safe to their families after they do this work. On the campaign front, congratulations to Director Laliotis and President Finn. I did want to, for the public announcement and update, announce that Nevada County did adopt the resolution to appoint those positions in lieu of election. And the first day of the new term will be the first Friday in December, so congratulations to all. And I think I will end it there.
Thank you so much, Brian. You hit on a couple things that are always interesting to me.
And you should have seen the traffic coming from my house to here tonight. Man, all the roads are just backed up with cars. And West River Street down here was back about halfway back to 89 from 267.
Sometimes we have to compromise our quality of life to maintain and sustain the quality of life we all expect, so that,
Even the freeway was backed up. The trucks were all slowed up and everything.
Things keep changing, town keeps growing.
What is today?
What is today?
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, in September.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's hot.
And it's hot, all of the things. Yeah, exactly. Conserving water is conserving energy. It's one of my favorite things to remind people of. It's very important. And I think you should schedule that CARB tour probably sometime in the second half of December when we're bound to have an interesting weather pattern. I believe that Mr. Crow might have attended an orientation along those lines.
More than a 10.
Participated. Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments, Brian. It's always helpful to get the bigger picture. Which moves us on to our consent calendar this evening. Do we have any public comment on the consent calendar?
No, Madam President.
And seeing none, do we have any directors who have any comments or questions on the consent calendar this evening?
I am recusing myself from the vote regarding item 14. I have a real property, interest-owned property within Gray's Crossing.
Thank you, Director Bender. Consider yourself recused.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? We're good? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar? Yeah.
I move to approve the consent calendar as presented,
Thank you, Director Harris.
minus the one that's going into action.
Oh, perfect,
I'll
perfect.
second.
Well done.
Number 10.
And I heard a second, I think?
Yes, second.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Director Aguero?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Director Laliotis?
Yes.
Vice President Bender?
Yes, less
President.
14.
Yes, sir. The minutes will note your recusal.
Thank you.
President Finn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and that's going to bring us to the surprise action item number 10, consideration to adopt Resolution 2022-17, authorizing the amended and restated Red Mesa Tapaha. I wonder if that's how I pronounce that. Is it Tapaha? Okay, thank you. Projects, transaction schedule, and auxiliary agreements with UAMPS. So I'm going to let Mr. Horvath give us his presentation.
Well, good evening. Am I on? No. Am I on now?
Yep.
Oh, better. Thanks. Well, good evening, President Finn, members of the board. This is action item number 10. So Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems, or UAMPS, and the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority, NTUA, began discussions in late 2018, 4 years ago, about developing a solar generation project. NTUA has developed several projects over the last 5 years, or two projects over the last 5 years, and Red Mesa is the third. And they use a significant amount of those proceeds from those projects to support electrification on homes in the Navajo Nation. Surprisingly, the Navajo land area, the Native American territory, is bigger than the state of West Virginia. 15,000 of 55,000 homes, almost a third, do not have electricity, and this represents 75% of all the unelectrified households in the U.S. So they have a significant need there. At the time, the proposed solar project would be located on tribal land in southwest Utah near the town of Aneth, and it was designated finally by NTUA as the Red Mesa Tapaha Solar Project. UAMPS negotiated a purchase power agreement, or PPA, in early 2019, or began negotiating, and negotiations were complete with NTUA in July of 2019, a little over 3 years ago. Energy cost was $23.15 per megawatt hour, with a 2% annual escalation factor for 25 years. The UAMPS board approved that PPA in July of 2019. The total member interest was 66 megawatts, with 16 UAMPS members participating, including the districts. The commercial operation date, or COD, was scheduled for June 1st of 2022, June 1st of this year. And of course, that PPA would only become effective upon obtaining all the governing body member approvals from all the UAMPS members. The district did obtain a 6 megawatt share, and this represents about 10% of our total energy requirements. It includes the RECs, and so, of course, this is renewable, it's carbon-free, and it would push, at the time, we estimated would help increase our RPS to above 70% starting this year. UAMPS, going a little bit into the detail here, they used the master firm power supply agreement with a specific transaction schedule for the project. We're a participant in that project. They call it the master or the firm power project for short. And a resolution authorizing our participation was required 3 years ago, almost to the date. Back in September of 2019, the board did approve Resolution 2019-20, authorizing that transaction schedule.
What does that add to our renewable, Joe?
Pardon me?
Does that add to our renewables?
Yes, so we anticipated at the time that it would add, when the project came online, it would add about 10% to our renewables, but at the time.
So after this resolution, we'll get 10% more?
Once the project came online,
Oh, okay.
it was correct. It was scheduled to be online this year, but it did not come online, and I'll get into the details of that in a moment. Oh, no. So how did we get here tonight, speaking about Red Mesa project again? Well, almost 1 year ago, NTUA informed UAMPS that it was behind schedule, and that the commercial operation date, or COD, would need to be extended to at least September 1st of this year. And this was due to the fact that, as NTUA explained to UAMPS, that both the Navajo Nation and NTUA offices were closed during the COVID pandemic, for much of the COVID pandemic. And also, this was due, at the time, NTUA explained that their vendors were unable to honor their delivery schedules and pricing for things like the solar panels, the inverters, and other hardware. And over the rest of 2021 and into the first part of 2022, UAMPS asked for and received additional documentation concerning both those items. And finally, UAMPS received a force majeure claim from NTUA in May of this year. And this claim essentially requested relief from the contract for the original commercial operation date and for the original energy pricing. And this was due to those scheduled delays and cost increases for materials from their suppliers that were, as they claimed, outside of their control. And they also explained in that claim that they were unable to obtain bank financing at the original PPA pricing of $23 per megawatt hour. So at the time, NTUA proposed a new energy price and commercial operation date, and that was, their original proposal to UAMPS was $31.50 a megawatt hour with a 2% escalation for 25 years. This would be equivalent If you do the math, it would be equivalent to a fixed price of a little over $40 a megawatt hour for 25 years. And the new commercial operation date would be March 15th of 2023. So UAMPS had the option of litigating the force majeure claim. However, UAMP staff indicated that any litigation would be very difficult and it would be expensive and it would have a very uncertain outcome. UAMPS also had the option of identifying that what they call the anticipatory breach of contract. This would allow UAMPS to break the contract and retain the development security funds. However, this would also be subject to litigation by NTUA and with a very uncertain outcome. And an additional complication to any litigation was the fact that NTUA became a full participating member of UAMPS in April of 2021. So stepping back for a moment, taking a wide-angle lens view of the solar industry and what's happening in this country, supply chain constraints have slowed deliveries for new solar projects, not only nationwide, but globally. Many projects have been delayed or canceled due to the challenging environment. In addition, solar projects were placed on hold nationwide, awaiting the outcome of a Department of Commerce investigation that began in March of this year. And this investigation concerns trade violations involving solar panels purchased from Asian suppliers. And the question under investigation by the COD was, are Chinese manufacturers skirting tariff rules on solar imports from China by funneling components through affiliates in the nearby countries of Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam? The Solar Energy Industries Association, which is a Washington, D.C. based trade group, notes that solar installation forecasts were down for this year and next year were down by almost 50% due to the DOC investigation. President Biden did issue an emergency declaration for a 24-month tariff exemption for solar panels sourced from these 4 Southeast Asian nations back in June. However, it may take some time for solar panel delivery schedules to improve even with his action. Another option for UAMPS and their members is to search for a new solar project, but with a high probability of an increased energy price for any project we could acquire, a price approaching about $40 a megawatt hour. This is because there is a shortage of new renewable projects available to utility buyers nationwide. And it's not surprisingly, existing and planned utility scale solar projects are fully subscribed nationwide right now. And this has caused prices for purchase power agreements to rise almost by 30% since the beginning of 2021, according to an analysis performed by PPA marketplace analytics firm Level 10 Energy. Level 10's market average national PPA price index graph for what they call their North American solar is a little over $36 a megawatt hour at the end of the first quarter of this year, with an increasing price trajectory. It's hard to see on this graph, but it's the very lower line, the very lower dotted green line, and that's a little over $36 a megawatt hour. I looked up with Level 10 to see if they had any updated information for quarter 2, but quarter 2 information won't be available for another month until October. For all these reasons, UAMP staff recommended and the Red Mesa project participants agreed to renegotiate the PPA with NTUA. The negotiations were completed in July of this year. Pricing for energy is $37 a megawatt hour fixed for a term of 25 years. The scheduled COD is March 15th of 2023 with a not to exceed date of September 15th of 2023. The UAMPS board approved that amended and restated purchase power agreement at their regular meeting in July of this year, and the district's participation at 6 megawatts remains unchanged. UAMPS is again using that master firm power supply agreement with a specific transaction schedule for the Red Mesa project as the updated agreement for its members, including the district. So a resolution authorizing that amended and restated transaction schedule is required for the district to participate now. And that's similar to the documents and approvals we made 3 years ago when this project originally came in front of the board. And this is now put forth in the attached resolution, the Resolution 22-17, attached to the staff report. And it will also become effective, the PPA with NTUA will become effective upon UAMPS obtaining approvals for that amended and restated schedule from all their members, including the district. UAMPS staff did prepare a talking points document in anticipation of a number of questions that may arise from governing bodies of all the agencies and the public. It lists many expected questions and answers. As an example, one question that may be on the minds of many governing bodies is, what guarantee do we have that the price will not increase again? And reading from that Q&A, the contract price and the amended and restated PPA includes language that states, in no event shall the contract price increase for any reason, including excused delay or force majeure. That talking points document was also included in the staff report. So despite events resulting in these price increases and a significant delay to the commercial operation date, staff believes that the Red Mesa project remains the best option for the district to acquire low-cost, utility-scale solar and generation in the least possible time frame. And so we recommend adoption of that Resolution 22-17. And if the board adopts that resolution, it will also have the effect of rescinding the previously adopted resolution for the project 2019-20. I have a few pictures of the project and a short video. In this picture, you'll see a background in the background is Red Mesa, which the project was named after. In the middle ground of the picture, you'll see foundation piles for the solar panels behind the fence. I have a few other pictures that show that more clearly. Here, in this picture, you see a little more closely the foundation piles driven into the sand, into the soil. And in the background, you'll see some of the solar panels that have been installed on those piles. Here's some workers unloading and installing conduit in the field. I do have some construction statistics also. As of early August, the project is 20% complete. 25% of the solar panels are on site. 60% are in shipment, confirmed in shipment to the site, and the remaining 15% are currently in production. And I do have a short video. It's a 3-minute long video produced by NTUA.
Well, I'm a single parent and I needed to work. I needed a job, so I came and applied and I got hired.
I actually like it. It's not bad. We get paid every week. Like I said, it's really convenient too to be living close to home. And yeah, I like it.
Most of it's just labor work, or we're putting pipes up. Later on, we're going to be putting everything else together. Then solar panels are going to be next. And I hear it's going to be really tiring, but I'm up for it.
Gives us a lot of opportunities to go out there and make younger natives or Navajos go up in the solar industry. And I'm trying to work my way up there, so that way one day maybe I could be a foreman, as you know it too.
We're actually behind because we're waiting on shipment and material. As soon as we get the shipment and the material that we need, we can get a lot of people on board to start working immediately. And that's what our goal is, to get everyone on site and to start working so that we can finish this project as soon as we can.
So the Red Mesa project summary, with the new amended and restated transaction schedule, the district still has a 10 megawatt, or excuse me, a 6 megawatt share, which represents 10%, again, about of our energy requirements. Pricing is that at $37 fixed for 25 years. Compared to the 2019 pricing of $23 a megawatt hour with a 2% escalation factor, that original pricing was equivalent to just under $30 a megawatt hour fixed. So $37 a megawatt hour does represent about a 25% increase from that previous pricing. However, it still remains one of the lowest cost district energy resources. The delay in the project operation does require us to make market energy purchases. And of course, the market price for energy changes as the cost of natural gas changes. And natural gas has become the marginal fuel for energy generation, and therefore natural gas power plants set the price for market energy. Natural gas prices have been low in years past. Prior to the pandemic, $2 to $4 per million metric million BTUs or MMBTU. However, there's been a nationwide reduction of other fossil fuel base load sources, and this has put an increasing demand for natural gas, putting an upward pressure on natural gas prices. Now current natural gas prices are ranging between $6 and $10 per MMBTU, and then the net effect is increased market energy prices. As General Manager Wright said in his remarks, pricing for summer, this is when the demand for electricity is highest, typically any year. Prices have been ranging in the $100 to $200 range for market energy. And for what happened in this heat event, UAMPS, on behalf of their members to meet their UAMPS member demand, they were purchasing blocks of what's called super peak energy, the hours between about 4 o'clock in the afternoon to like 9 o'clock at night. a rate anywhere from $300 earlier in the week to approaching $1,000 a megawatt hour. So this does have a real impact, what's happening, affecting us as well. And so staff estimates that the cost impact due to that delay in the Red Mesa project could approach anywhere from $600,000 to $1.2 million over the rest of the year. However, as General Manager Wright explained, we won't know more until the results for August and for September come in, which is next month, the end of September and the end of October, before we know that. That estimate of an overage does assume average energy production from other resources, but to the extent that they produce more or less, that would have a positive or negative impact as well. Our budget for this year for purchase power is $13.5 million, and our forecast for being over budget because of that delay in the Red Mesa project is the total impact we estimate to be about $1 million. However, there are multiple variables that affect that final purchase cost: customer demand, weather, other factors, and therefore staff recommends, as previously as our CFO Mike Salmon brought to the board midsummer in the midsummer review, that in December we have a review of the purchase power costs and a potential use of those electric rate reserve funds, which currently the current balance for that fund is a little under $7 million. Therefore, staff recommends that the board adopt Resolution 2022-17, authorizing the Red Mesa Tappaha Solar Project amended and restated transaction schedule and auxiliary agreements with Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems. Thank you for your patience, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Joe, for providing us with that overview and summary of what has been going on with Red Mesa. Do we have any public comment on that presentation? I know it was a little bit, kind of last minute that it was going to be pulled out, but anything over the internets?
No, Madam President.
I see none here. Board, I know we're really familiar with this. It was addressed in Mike's presentation back in July.
4 years.
Yeah, we talked about it. Director Laliola just reminded me today that perhaps the public would like a presentation to help them understand why we have been delayed in adding more renewables to our mix. And it's, a situation that there were lots of factors contributing, COVID and supply chains and any number of things. So I hope that this was helpful to the community at large who decides to watch this on their at their leisure. But I will open it up. Do we have any lingering questions as board members for Joe, or comments? Okay, good. Except, never mind, not good.
No, I just,
Director Laliola.
it is what it is, and I think we stay on track and
Yeah,
make it happen.
wait till the project's finished.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thank you for putting that presentation, while all this information is in our board packet. It is important for us to hear it and for the community to hear it. This is one of those good news, bad news, good news stories. And, I think it's important to that, and I want to acknowledge you, AMPS, for keeping their eye on the ball over the last year, because in the end, we're getting, as Joe stated, a very low-cost, carbon-free resource, 10% of our load at a very reasonable price. And so we continue to deliver, what our goals have been to this community for renewable energy. And unfortunately, this delay, for many reasons, as described tonight, has caused the price to increase and the time to be extended and our costs to go up because of other factors. But I think in the long run, what we're offsetting what we're seeing today and the costs going on with this thing and what we're offsetting will only keep rates lower in the future. So just want to acknowledge all the hard work from our staff and UAMPS on keeping this rolling, so.
Thank you, Director Laliotis. Director Harris?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the fact, thank you very much for this presentation. That was, of the presentations I was hoping would be called, was this one. So thank you for explaining everything. But I'm always happy to see, even though something was starting to go south, that UAMPS and that we can kind of pull it out and turn it into a win-win situation. It's not ideal to, because you couldn't stick with the original contract, but you know what? Everybody went back to the table, renegotiated it, and, we're kind of moving forward with it, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good. I think we're all in agreement. Thank you very much for your presentation. I hope it helped everybody in our community to understand how this is working, and I'm happy to entertain a motion.
I'll move staff's recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Director Aguirre. Director Harris.
Yes.
Director Laliotis.
Yes.
Vice President Bender.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, very good. And that brings us to the original first action item, item number 15, consideration of a master leasing program for public employee housing administered through the Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency. So we are going to, I believe, turn it over to General Manager Brian Wright.
All right, good evening, President Finn, members of the board. To switch gears a little bit, a lot of discussion on energy and, the finances of the energy supply challenges for California and the Western region. I want to switch gears a little bit to some of the local challenges in employee housing. So action item number 15, as President Finn mentioned, is regarding a potential master leasing program through the Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency. And this evening, I have as a guest Emily Vitus, who's the executive director of that agency. She's been doing tremendous work keeping the progress moving forward, identifying opportunities and resources for local public employees who are in fact facing a pretty tremendous challenge in locating housing that's viable for a wide range of housing needs for families and employees.
Brian, today I got a card from the housing thing here. What is a community without its workforce? When surveyed, nearly 40% of our essential workers stated they are considering leaving their employment in part due to the high cost of housing in the area. About how we can help, a few suggestions there and so on. I got this morning.
That's great. And what we'd like to present this evening is a potential opportunity to not solve the problem, but chip away at it and continue to work towards resources for all of our local public agency employees. So a little bit of background here. The employee access to achievable local housing has been a long-term issue here. This isn't something new for the Truckee Tahoe Basin, but it's continues to be exacerbated or become more of a forefront in terms of public agencies' ability to recruit and retain employees on the larger employment market. There's also a need for short-term housing for emergency response. All of our public agencies have a emergency response component to their mission, the PUD included. And so electric and water services are essential for life, health, and safety here in our community. And sometimes we need those resources, housing resources. Traditionally, those have been hotels, local hotels, or, sharing rooms within the local workforce housing that's available. We saw this last December during the big storms in December 2021. I think the PUD's hotel bills were in excess of approaching $40,000 for several weeks, just for a few weeks, I'm sorry. And so staging local resources, both our contractors and our emergency response employees, becomes challenging, particularly challenging during holiday seasons or high occupancy seasons in the winter and, now the summer, 4th of July type seasons. And so a few years back, the district did participate in the Mountain Housing Council, 2017 to 2019. But in 2018, the district began to explore opportunities to collaborate with local public agencies to seek innovative solutions to a common problem. And so there's resources out there statewide, regionally, for affordable housing and some of the lower income housing challenges throughout our state, but really looking at what innovative solutions could we identify for local public employee housing. And so we partnered up with the Tahoe Forest Hospital District, the Truckee Tahoe Unified School District, and the Airport District to form the Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency, affectionately known as the TTWHA. And so it is essentially a joint powers authority to address the housing challenges for all the member agencies. So back on October 3rd of 2019, this board took action to authorize the participation and formation of the JPA with similar actions from each of our public partners. In 2020, the agency began the process of really starting to define goals and key initiatives to address public employee housing needs. A lot of board workshops to kind of collaborate and brainstorm on what local resources, a resource assessment, and really what kind of the heart of the matter, conducting an employee housing needs survey a few years back. And I've commandeered some slides from Emily and her work. The board has seen these slides in one of the Workforce Housing Agency updates. And so out of that survey that was conducted of the employees for each of the agencies, one of them, for the purposes of this item this evening, one of the items that really pops up is employer lease rentals. And the prospect of employees really having an opportunity through each of the public agencies' master leasing programs to find short-term, transitional, and even long-term leasing opportunities that may not have been available to them previously. Before we get into the actual kind of mechanics and logistics of the master leasing program, some of the other projects or focuses for the Workforce Housing Agency continue to seek opportunities to build or develop workforce housing, procure workforce housing, expand housing programs and services. We've seen a lot of success through Emily and her staff's work on what we call the concierge services, getting public employees in touch with property owners, with property management companies, and trying to really match employees with available properties that meet their needs. And the Workforce Housing Agency is also exploring some non-housing related programs in terms of education and other resources that might be available, such as down payment assistance programs or other educational programs to really get their foot in the door in a very challenging market. I touched on a few of these already. For the purposes of this evening, we'll focus on the master leasing program, and I'll have Emily offer some additional insight because she's far more familiar with this project than I am. From a budget fiscal standpoint, the Truckee Donner Public Utility District, with the partner agencies, has an annual contribution of just over $14,000. This original design was based on the number of employees each agency has. So really it's about kind of relative participation in the larger housing goals. Last year, in 2021, into 2021, the membership expanded to include 3 new agencies. So we had the original 4, and we've added 3 new agencies, the Town of Truckee, Nevada County, and Placer County. With the addition of these new agencies brings additional resources, but it also broadens the range of employee housing needs. And so to kind of adapt to the new participation and new resources, the board of directors of the agency, along with staff, are currently working on preparing an updated master plan for the Workforce Housing Agency. This also includes new budget adjustments, new annual participation dues and fees, and really setting a more refined schedule of goals and opportunities for the agency moving forward. With that, there's an opportunity for the district to participate in essentially the first master leasing program through the agency, and really think outside the box on how we can, as a local employer and a public service provider, think of employee housing as part of our infrastructure. And it doesn't have to be necessarily our agency building and constructing physical resources, which is something we can consider and staff plans to bring before this board when the opportunities present themselves in the near future. But in terms of being more nimble and having ability to provide resources in a short-term basis, a master leasing program really kind of fits the bill for the district's needs, the staff need, and the available resources in our community. And so an example master leasing program, a draft program, would include some of the following details. We recently, the Workforce Housing Agency was presented with a couple of properties, one in particular here for the example, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath residential property, 1-car garage, fully furnished, with a proposed lease length or term of, I believe, just over 9 months. Monthly rent amount, the early proposal is $2,400 a month, which is really quite affordable, or at least relative to some of the costs we're seeing for rental and lease rates out there in the open market. Average monthly utilities yet to be determined, and then a property owner or manager through the Tahoe Truckee Vacation Properties. And so the district's responsibilities in this example or proposed lease program would be to make payment, full payment at the end of each month to the Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency for the rent, utilities, and cleaning of the home to be invoiced by the housing agency. I have to add, this would be invoiced to the district in partnership with a cost-sharing agreement with a potential or proposed employee occupying this home. And so the district would be invoiced with sort of the gap in what the agreement would be. An example for this one, a $2,400 a month lease agreement, the staff member of the public agency, potentially the district, or one of the other public agencies, would have a lease agreement executed through the Workforce Housing Agency. The district or a participating public agency would make up that difference. And so we'd set up a program where, in this example, if it was a one-to-one rent cost-sharing agreement, the district would pay $1,200 a month, the employee would pay $1,200 a month for a term, allowing them to have opportunity to find more permanent housing solutions, also transitioning their family from areas in the Truckee and getting these new recruits on board, employed, and with local housing resources. The Workforce Housing Agency responsibilities would essentially be the facilitator of the lease agreement. All of the interactions, communications, processing of payments between the district's employee or the other public agency employees, the property management firm, and the property owners would be facilitated or executed through the Workforce Housing Agency, and essentially be the lead contact for the district, staff, and the property managers. I want to stop here for a moment and invite Emily to answer any questions that the board might have and add some detail and insight. I don't know if, Emily, you want to join at the table here or at the dais, the podium up there would be great.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I would like to start bringing Brian to all of my presentations, to all of my member agencies. Thank you, General Manager Wright, for starting us off with that. Really, this is an opportunity for us to start considering a proof of concept around temporary transitional master leasing opportunities for all of our member agencies. We have known for a long time that this is a need. All of our member agencies, as General Manager Wright said, do have temporary and transitional housing needs, whether it's new hires, fires, weather-related emergency events, et cetera. However, we've needed a member agency partner to kind of start down this pathway with us. So our conversations with your staff have led to an understanding around a need for this temporary housing for recruitment purposes and emergency housing or emergency event, weather-related event needs. So through this process with Brian and the team, we've been able to finalize our temporary master leasing program. That includes all of the agreements, master leasing documents, legal documents, the full process around how we can actually implement a program like this. And working with you all, if you're interested in working with us in this, allows us to create that proof of concept, which means that we can start to move forward with temporary master leasing opportunities for member agency employees beyond your own. So as General Manager Wright mentioned, while we're looking to the PUD to be our partner in this, there is an opportunity for other member agencies to participate in this offer as well. Excuse me. Bug. If we were to move forward with this, it may be the unit that General Manager Wright just shared with you. It could be another unit depending on the needs and timing of securing the unit. But there is an opportunity in which if there are 2 or 3 bedrooms, one bedroom is being utilized by a PUD employee, another bedroom is being utilized by a school district employee, we would make sure that the match is correct and we have a home that is all men, all women, et cetera. So we would be managing all of those things. If that were to happen, we would be able to bill or invoice the PUD on a monthly basis, less all of the expenses that are related to the people that are living in those rooms at that time. We could also keep a room open if the PUD knows that we're entering into a winter season and there may be a need for temporary housing related to weather events at a much lower rate per night than what you're seeing when you're paying for hotels. Now, this is only a few rooms, but it is one component to lessening the expense that you see during the winter seasons with housing employees for emergency weather-related events. And again, our opportunity for us to start moving forward with temporary transitional master leasing program and offering for member agency employees. So I think tonight's really asking, will you agree to be a partner of ours to start moving down this pathway and unlock our first opportunity with temporary master leasing for your employees specifically, and then potentially other member agency employees as well?
Thank you, Emily.
I would like to add one other component here. This is an opportunity for a larger community benefit in terms of housing opportunities for critical employees within our community. We've already had a couple of kind of circumstances where what were anticipated to be pretty successful recruitments for very important positions for multiple agencies in the TDPUD, but also for the district, where ultimately the inability to secure affordable housing locally became a deal breaker. And the PUD is not unique in our situation of recruiting, very, very important critical resources here to our community and losing out on opportunities because the housing challenges were just too large. And so this is an opportunity that is also the attraction or benefit for the property owners is the opportunity to secure a lease to an occupant that's essentially backed by local public agencies and is critical to the community in which they live in as well. So there's a kind of a co-benefit there for securing properties in our community at affordable price, but not taking away from some of the other housing programs that are facilitated or executed through county and town jurisdictions.
Yeah, I do want to add really quickly, the units that we're looking at are units that have previously been short-term rented or are sitting empty. So this is not pulling units from, say, the lease to locals programs that the town and the counties are running. These are units that typically would not be utilized. And so we're working with local property management companies to ask them, are there any units that the owners would usually leave them sitting empty during the winter, or they would try to short-term rent them? Is there a way that we can connect with the owners and pitch this master leasing opportunity to them? Since we started working on this just in the last few weeks with General Manager Wright and your staff, we have received or connected with 5 homeowners who are willing to kind of unlock their home or release it from short-term rental for a temporary or transitional master leasing opportunity. So we do have options as it relates to timing and needs of each of our member agencies.
Cool.
If there's aren't any additional questions, I have a few more slides. Just wanted to stop to see if the board had any comments or questions. Moving more into the fiscal impact or the financials behind it, staff is recommending the board authorization of an amount not to exceed $30,000 annually to secure master leasing opportunities. Again, this is a $30,000 not to exceed amount, and staff expects or anticipates the actual cost of the district to be much lower if it's offset by the leasing responsibilities of the employees who occupy, or employees that occupy. And so that there's essentially an opportunity to secure one residential property. This approval limit could also extend, depending on the participation, to additional properties as well. And if the opportunity presents itself where we need more funding, we would come back to the board, but this is a not to exceed amount. I did want to make it clear that the district's annual dues and membership within the agency, as I mentioned earlier, approximately 14,000. They're going to fluctuate over the next year or two as the agency adjusts how membership dues are calculated because of the new participants, the new number of employees in the pool, so to speak, and what the master plan budget kind of needs in terms of membership. But currently it's around $14,000. That's independent or not included in this $30,000 authorization. This is an additional authorization of $30,000 specifically for the master leasing program executed through an agreement with the Workforce Housing Agency. As Emily mentioned, it's gone through the legal review on the agency side, not on the district side. And so staff would, if this were to move forward with board authorization, present these documents to our council, internal council, through Council Gross to review and kind of substantially the form presented, make sure that it met council's approval. This is an unbudgeted item, so it wasn't included in the 2022-23 budget, but funds do exist in the Electric and Water Utility General Fund. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Interesting. Do we have any public comment on this item?
No, Madam President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing none, opening it up to director comments and questions. Go ahead, Director Harris, let's start with you.
Well, thank you, Brian, for your presentation, for Emily for standing up and clarifying some of it. Kind of going through my mind is, would we look at this as like one house that we would rent for an employee temporarily until they find another place? Or is it something that we would keep it kind of empty until we have the need for, emergency people to be here nights? Is it, I've gone through kind of the dorms recently, and so is it 2 people per room, 3 people per room, or just 1 person per room? Are you going to allow families? I guess things like that kind of float through my mind. But I think it's a great opportunity for recruiting and for people, helping them kind of with a stepping stone to hopefully get into more permanent housing.
Yeah, great question, Director Harris. I think it's a combination of all things you just mentioned. And really, the goal, at least from the district's perspective, and I'll ask Emily to speak on behalf of the agency here, from the district's perspective is exactly that. It's the opportunity to secure housing availability that, as we all know, if anybody who's tried to enter the housing market, whether it's purchase or rental and lease, you have to be nimble and available to strike while the iron's hot. And opportunities come and go so quickly because of the competitive nature of our local market. And so what staff is recommending is that we secure board approval, take the opportunity to secure a master lease. We have a candidate, a district employee candidate for this particular opportunity now. It would be to secure housing until they can find more long-term housing for their family moving into the Truckee area, and serve as potentially opportunities for emergency housing or other public agencies. And it would all be kind of tailored and based and adaptable to the needs at that time. But we think it's really important, kind of putting it in perspective of our hotel cost last year in the emergency response activities for really a 3 to 4 week event was over $30,000. And this is an opportunity to secure 2, potentially 3 or 4 bedrooms locally for kind of a much lower rate $30,000 over 9 months versus $30,000 for a couple of weeks. So I hope I'm answering your question. It's a multiple of kind of securing a property to do all of the above. Emily?
Director Harris, your question regarding who's living in these units, who's living in the rooms. Each situation is going to be different. For this example, we do have an employee of yours that we know is looking for a housing unit. And so the way that we have looked at this opportunity is looking for a home that this person can be in for a number of months. We'll work with each individual directly to understand, do you need 1 month? Is it 3? Is it 6? Are you moving here? Are you here and you need transitional housing while you try to find your next place because your homeowner sold your home? And so for this situation that we've been discussing that led us to this, it is we want a fully furnished, nice home that our employees can feel comfortable, safe in, that is close to district facilities. However, as we move forward with this opportunity, if a weather-related event hits and we know that we need 5 to 7 bedrooms quickly for 7, 10, 12 nights, we can work with this network of homeowners that we're now starting to develop relationships with and see if we can unlock bedrooms for something like $40 to $50 per night versus the $100+ per night that many of our member agencies pay during weather-related events. So each situation will be different in regards to the home, the type of room that we're utilizing, and who we're putting in those homes. Does that help? Yes. That's great.
Thank you. Those were some of my questions as well. Director Lauliotis or Bender or Aguirre?
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Emily, for your presentation, and Brian. So, yeah, my question kind of similar to what you just kind of explained, but I guess what other options is the agency exploring to try and build that inventory, especially for the short-term emergency-based housing, as we often have events around here that we need to house employees because they either can't get home. It's best that they stay local versus getting stuck off the hill. So having the availability, as you said, you're getting a network of homeowners. Are there any other avenues you're exploring to kind of fill that niche?
Yeah, for the short term, it's definitely what is our existing housing stock and what can it allow for? And so the lowest hanging fruit is how do we access homes that are underutilized or not being utilized at all for member agency employee use for those shorter term needs. However, in the longer term, as we talk about workforce housing development, there will always be a kind of dormitory or temporary transitional style housing component because all of our public agencies have that similar need, whether it's recruitment, retention, or weather-related event emergency type response.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I see that as one of our biggest challenges. I mean, I think getting local homeowners or property owners to give us that flexibility is pretty awesome, but I doubt it's going to be very plentiful in nature. So yeah, I really support trying to find long-term solutions to these problems in addition to like sort of filling these short-term niches.
Yeah, we're in agreement. Thank you.
One of the things that Emily, her staff, and the board with the housing agency are also working on is evaluating kind of the developability or the functionality of other properties and parcels owned by each of the public agencies. And so there's a lot of focus on that for both long-term housing development and some of that, the short-term needs. Recently visited some of our other mountain area communities and saw some great opportunities for things like tiny housing or dormitory style housing. We have some properties that Emily and her staff are evaluating for potential development opportunities, and we'll bring back to the board as part of our larger facilities master plan. And one of the local examples is Town of Truckee has some dorms in their public works facilities that they've offered use to all the public agencies. But one of the challenges is their storm events are our storm events, and so we don't live that far apart in terms of what our staffing needs are. So we need to be nimble with that respect as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the town's willingness. Unfortunately, it's really those facilities are very integral to their public works operations, and there's definitely a need for a more flexible option out there for not just short-term storm events, but maybe even some midterm, employee housing issues, things like that. So, yeah, no, I really appreciate everyone's hard work and efforts here. I think we all are very frustrated with the concept of trying to find affordable housing in this community. And unfortunately, it's come down to the just chipping away at the block in very, very, very small pieces. And I know that can be frustrating for a lot of us. But unfortunately, I think it's the only way we're going to get through these situations is to take all the small wins and hopefully accumulate them into success stories. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, Director Leliotis. Director Bender?
Yeah, excellent presentation, really good information. It's very exciting to see just progress. It's just a lot of work. It's a big challenge for the community, and this is one step to help get us somewhere positive for it. So let's do it.
Thank you, Director Bender.
Brian, okay, now, authorize the district's participation in a master lease agreement for public employees. Now, whose lease agreement is this?
So the actual master lease agreement, there'll be essentially two agreements. There'll be a district agreement between the PUD and the Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency committing our participation in their master lease program. Then the Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing Agency will facilitate through property management or property owners the actual leases between the property owner and the public employees.
And that's up to Truckee Tahoe Workforce Housing.
They will be the liaison or facilitator of those property management agreements.
So all we're doing is agreeing to go with this master lease agreement that the employee would go into.
Yes, staff is recommending and asking for authorization, procurement authorization, not to exceed $30,000 annually for the participation in a master leasing program to secure properties for our employees, the district Truckee Donner PUD employees. This is the early stages of this program, and with its success, we're hoping to garner more interest from the other participating members, and it'll help overall reduce the cost individually for each district and really build a pool, as Director Aliotis just pointed out, a larger inventory of available properties for us to participate in.
Okay.
Hopefully, the goal here is to provide opportunities for affordable housing for new employees or recruits to come in, work for our public agencies, but also buy them some time to find more long-term housing solutions.
Now, this card also says, they say, we want your help, have a home. How you can help, it says, have a home or room available for rent, considering selling your home, want to get creative to help our local workforce. Contact us today if you have something for sale or available to put out there to the public.
Can I speak to that really quick? I'm really glad that you got one of our postcards. They just went out last Friday. So that is from us directly to you, just in case you want to sell your house. But they went out to 7,500 homeowners in our region. And from that, we've already received another 10 leads from homeowners interested in helping our public agencies keep their employees close to the places that they work. So the rental piece is what we're speaking to tonight, long and short-term rental, temporary housing opportunities. But then the home sales is we have lending and real estate partners that we're working with. If homeowners are interested in selling their home, we're actually working with real estate agents and lending partners to reduce that cost to the purchaser, which would hopefully be one of our public agency employees. And then the final piece is we are willing to have conversations with anybody about any creative solutions because somebody might know something that we don't know. And so I'm glad that you received that mailer, and hopefully we get more leads from that than we've gotten in the last few days.
Thank you.
Y'all good? Do you have any? Okay, thank you. Director Aguirre. I think everybody's answered my questions and echoed my sentiments. So we're the first agency?
First agency, so we've known that master leasing obviously is an opportunity we want to pursue, but oftentimes, over the last few years, the master leasing approach we've been looking at is multiple units for long-term. The temporary transitional housing, while we see that it's a need, none of our member agencies have come to us and said, we have to respond to this immediately. This is so important that we are hiring new employees, we really want to secure, or we know that a season is coming that we need to have at least some temporary units that we can access for weather-related events. So PUD staff is the first staff that has shown a willingness to partner with us and create the proof of concept in the temporary master leasing opportunity that we'd like to pursue.
Okay, great. Good job, guys. Yeah, because we can't do what we do without employees. And I really do hope our community recognizes the direct benefit to them of having employees in their vital services live in their town. Okay, I'm good. I'm again willing to entertain a motion, unless there's anything else. Oh, no?
I move to authorize the district's participation in the master lease agreement for public employee temporary housing resources administered through TTWHA for a total annual cost to the district not to exceed $30,000.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Director Laliotis?
Yes.
Vice President Bender?
Yes.
President Finn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's exciting. Breaking new ground here. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Brian. Moving on to action item number 16. Consideration of a contract with Sage Land Surveying for lot line adjustments and associated costs for the future Truckee Library. I'm feeling like we've got a theme tonight. Shauna, I believe, has a presentation for us.
I do, thank you. Good evening, President and the board. Tonight we have a consideration, thank you, Brian, of a contract with Sage Land Surveying for the lot line adjustments and associated costs for the future Truckee Library.
That part of the property for the library is at the recreation department.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Park is.
Uh-huh. So our library services are over at the county campus, over off of Lavon. The library is over 45 years old, was built to serve about 2,000 people, and right now we're serving over about 20,000, and that does include Martis Valley area that uses our services over here. Obviously, we've outgrown that facility, and with the outgrowing of that facility, the Friends of the Truckee Library was created by a group of locals to try to figure out what funding we can use, if the governance is correct, and if those partnerships are correct. So the Friends of the Truckee Library for over a decade has explored with multiple consultants what the best thing for us to do is. So a part of that was the siting phase, to find out the site available to the Friends of the Truckee Library, and one that would make sense to create the library to be a hub for the community and walkability and all of those elements. The regional park was identified as the area for that, so that would be up at the smaller ball field, more on the western side, and I'll show you a site map of this in just a few moments. There is a strong support from the community. In 2016, the community approved Measure A, and that is the quarter-cent sales tax that is on Nevada County libraries. And specifically, Truckee's was 80% in that Measure A funding, so that was a pretty strong support. There's fundraising, and of course, the town of Truckee has funds going into this as well. The project crosses 4 parcels. We own 2 of those parcels. The Recreation and Park District owns 1, and TSD owns the largest parcel in this area that we're looking at. All stakeholders are in agreement to the transaction and the lines for the lot line adjustment to take place to create this residual parcel that the library will go on. One thing I would like to also state about that residual parcel is it needs to be underneath one ownership so that when the library starts to do grant funding, which Nevada County's hoping to submit one by November, that grant would require them to be under one ownership and one master lease. So that would be a big hit for that. The district has an existing contract and relationship with Sage Land Surveying, and all the agencies have agreed that Kurt Margraf with Sage is well-versed in lot line adjustments in the town of Truckee and has a relationship with the town surveyor. So we are looking at a 6-month to a year process to get these lot line adjustments completed, and all the agencies will apply together underneath one application to conduct what we need to do. So
One partial when it's all done.
now I'm going to show you. So right now, up here on the map, on the screen,
I got one too.
see, TSD, as you could see, owns a majority of this parcel. We are over off of the riverside. The Recreation and Park District abuts Brockway Road, as well as our property, as you can see over here where the rodeo grounds are, kind of curves around here and abuts the Brockway Road as well. And then the Rec and Park is in the back. Raymond Brown from TSD has created this fun map for us, just to let you guys know. I want to know where we're going on this. So you're seeing the shading come in on the parcels that the PUD is going to give to Recreation and Park in exchange for another parcel. And so these will start to pop up for you and populate, whoops, sorry. So we can see where we're at and what we're going to give. So we're a public agency, we have to do like for like and exchange those properties for exact parcel numbers. So the fiscal impact budget did not include this as a line item. However, sufficient funds exist in the general management budget for the special services. The estimated budget for the lot line project is about $75,000. This is between the title insurance, surveying, and recordation costs. The district will be responsible for up to $25,000, with the Friends of the Truckee Library committing to the remainder of the cost. The Friends of the Library have received approval and funding from their governing board and are very appreciative that the district has supported this project for the last 4 or 5 years that the board has put in the time for this. And the recommendation is to authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Sage Land Surveying for the lot line adjustment process and procure additional ancillary administrative services related to the future Truckee Library lot line adjustment for a total project amount not to exceed $75,000.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Shauna. Do we have any public comment on this item?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. Seeing none here, back to the board. Any comments or questions about this?
Why is the surveying coming back to us? Why is it coming back to us, the surveying? Because it's our property or what?
We had committed, Director Aguirre,
Oh,
a
we
few
did.
years ago that we would pay for the lot line adjustment that affected our parcel, so this would be our share of that cost.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Thumbs up from Director Bender.
I'm always
Director
happy to
Harris?
see us work with other community members in order to make, items like this that will be a huge benefit to the community. Hopefully it will, as we go through and get into the Truckee Library, that it will help educate and support our employees and our endeavors on getting, quality employees that are educated and trained in electric and water. So it's always good to see this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Harris. I absolutely agree. Director Laliotis? All good? I think we're all good.
Good.
Yeah, wonderful. Happy to see it move forward. Do we have a motion?
I'll move staff's recommendation.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, there it is.
Fantastic. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Director Laliotis?
Yes.
Vice President Bender?
Yes.
President Finn?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Excited to see that. And moving on to action item number 17, which is consideration for a professional services contract to conduct the district's fiscal year 2022 annual audit. And now we have Mr. Selman.
Thank you, President Finn. Good evening, members of the board. This is, as President Finn indicated, this is action item 17, consideration of a professional services contract to conduct the district's fiscal year 22 annual audit. District code requires the district's financial statements to be independently audited annually. The audit firm is hired directly by the board and reports directly to the board. District code outlines a cycle of every 3 years issuing a public request for proposals or requests a proposal from current auditors to extend their services. Moss Adams has been the district's auditor since fiscal year 2011. In 2019, the board renewed Moss Adams' contract for the upcoming 3 years through 2021's audit. Moss Adams is ranked 11th nationally in the U.S. for firm size and is largest firm headquartered on the West Coast. Moss Adams services for the district are based out of Portland, the Portland, Oregon office, and have been led the last few years by former manager, now recently made partner, Keith Simovic. Julie Desmondet is the national practice leader in power utilities and renewable energy and serves as the quality control review partner for the district's audit. The firm has an extensive utility practice as detailed in their proposal in the attachment to the staff report. The district has been satisfied with the audit services provided, in particular the depth of utility and governmental expertise that the firm has in the Portland office in particular. Moss Adams consistently rotates the assigned personnel and testing areas of the district's financials and internal controls each year. In 2021, Moss Adams provided valued assistance with the district's first annual comprehensive financial report ever issued for the district for fiscal year 2020 and received a certificate of excellence from the GFOA. The board may direct staff to distribute a public request for proposal, RFP, for the next 3 years of audit services or consider extending Moss Adams' contract. An RFP will likely provide a range of service of costs and service levels, though staff does not estimate a materially lower cost than the current contract level. Our current contract is actually around about $55,000, and the previous auditors prior to Moss Adams, the audit was about $60,000, and that was over 10 years ago. Changing audit firms will require additional staff resources with no anticipated new benefits to the district. Moss Adams has provided a new proposal for audit services. Staff recommends the board review and consider for approval a contract extension with Moss Adams. The contract renewal for the fiscal year 22 audit is $61,600 and includes options for renewals for the following 2 years. These amounts include travel expenses, which may not be incurred, and an administrative and technology fee of 5%. In this year for the 21 audit, the total cost per the contract last year, the contract was $55,500. The district's annual budget for 23 audit service expense for the 22 audit is $57,165. The Moss Adams proposal included in the staff report is at $61,600 or $4,435 or 8% greater than the budget for 2023. However, that amount does include $7,000 in travel expenses, which we do not anticipate incurring the majority of that cost. So we should be right in for 23 audit costs with that proposal amount. So we have a recommendation for the board to consider. There's two options. One is to authorize the board president to execute a 3-year contract with Moss Adams for the fiscal year 22, 23, and 24 annual audits in the yearly amount not to exceed $61,600, $63,950, and $65,250 respectively, or direct staff to issue a request for proposals for a professional auditing firm to conduct the district's fiscal year 22 audit. I would like to point out the first recommendation here is slightly different than the staff report's recommendation verbiage. The verbiage in the original staff report in your packets is to authorize the board president to engage for fiscal year 2022 with options for 23 and 24. And the more we discussed this over the last week, we thought it was best for the district overall to go ahead and lock in with Moss Adams for 3 years with their reasonable proposal in price and our satisfaction with their audit services and audit quality. We might as well just commit to the 3 years now. So that's the two recommendations that are presented here. And with that, I turn it back over to President Finn.
Thank you very much, Mike. Did we receive any public comment on this item? Okay, thank you. Board, do we have any devil's advocates here?
I'm not a devil's advocate, I just have a quick question. Why authorize the board president to execute the contract rather than the general manager?
The agreement between the auditing firm and the district is executed through the board. It's directly through the board of directors. Council Gross might have some additional input on this, but I believe that's to preserve the kind of transparency and objectivity in the auditing services as opposed to staff executing those agreements.
Sounds good to me.
The code does say that the president shall execute contracts on behalf of the district, but that's a delegable duty by the board to delegate that to the general manager.
Okay.
I feel like it's part of our oversight, like we contract Moss Adams so they can take a peek at our staff without us having any sort of weird staff hired their own oversight situation. So I always thought of it that way. Any other questions or comments?
I'm game for option A.
Noted.
I like option A, locking in Moss Adams for 3 years. They've done a really good job.
I've done a good job.
Final answer.
I like working with them, so
Lock it in.
Cool.
there it is.
I'll be the devil's advocate.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that somebody was going to rise.
No, from a transparency perspective, Mike, can you explain why agencies probably put the provision that every 3 years you ask for another RFP, and some choose to extend maybe 1 or 2 times, but at some point they decide that it's time to move on to, another CPA. But what is the prevalent reason typically why?
Perhaps the most frequent driver of that is cost shopping. So are we getting the best price for our audit? I firmly believe we are getting a very good price for the size and complexity of this organization, knowing what other audit costs are throughout this region. I'm very comfortable with the price proposal and price we've been getting, and knowing that this price was better than what was being paid prior with the previous firm over a decade ago. So considering inflation, I think these are pretty good prices. And for the size firm and quality of the firm, audit quality that we're getting, very pleased with that. The other reason for an RFP would be there's the often discussed at a board level, audit committee level, the concept of auditor rotation. and the pros and cons of that. It's been debated mostly since Enron days. And, independence of auditors and a fresh set of eyes and the pros and cons of audit quality. There's been studies that prove it both ways. If you research it, you'll find arguments both directions. The AICPA that provides the overall regulatory guidance for auditors does not recommend audit firm rotation. There's like a fresh set of eyes is another reason for doing a proposal to get another firm in, just to have a fresh set of eyes. I would hate to go through that effort just to change the font size in the financial reports or something like that. But there is certainly some benefit to having a fresh set of eyes. But there's also, with a new firm, they're spending all their time researching, getting up to speed with your business and the nuances of your business and your business practices and your internal controls. And so there's a significant amount of effort both at a staff level and at the audit firm level. So typically there's a high level of cost involved with that first year of the audit and a large investment in getting up to speed in your business. There's been studies that say the first 3 years of auditors is typically when there's problems with the financial statements that have been issued. So there's pros and cons there. So that's some of the concepts.
I appreciate that. And then with relation to like the annual comprehensive financial report and some of the work we do to present our status through GFOA, does the GFOA speak to any of this?
Specifically to auditor rotation, I'm not sure either way on that. I'd have to research that. They do certainly provide a whole nother level, in-depth level of, I believe the checklist is about 150 pages to do the comprehensive annual financial report, and the peer review that's involved in those financial statements is exhaustive. And I believe the response and clarifications and questions and recommendations for next year for improvement was about 5 pages long, based on that first year report that we got. And so we addressed those. We addressed those for this year's audit and have submitted for the 2021 annual comprehensive financial report award as well. So hope to get that.
How much was it, 21, is it 61,000?
It would be 61,000 for the 2022 audit. That'll happen in, next year.
Well, for the 22, 61.6 is the 22 audit.
Yes, sir.
What was 21? I mean, 21?
55,500.
Okay, so, in 1 year they jumped, what, 6,000, 7,000?
Yes, sir, about 8%.
And, okay, so we're at 61 now. I think that they're a good firm. I think they did us well for what they served us. And I think they're a top firm. I like but 65,000 in 3 years. Do you think they can hold to that? It's only 4,000 more. It jumped what?
That's why I like that. Yes, it's, I think it's 4% increase for 2023's audit, and then a 2% jump that last year.
Okay, now the transportation, they had a cost there of 7,000. They don't think they might use the whole thing.
Correct, in particular.
Transportation in East, that's in this already?
Correct. Those numbers do include that transportation
Okay, so that's the total
accommodations. Yeah.
So, thank you, Mike.
I believe Council Gross has something to add.
Thanks. I want to just offer a comment about auditor rotation and having a fresh set of eyes. The California Government Code does address this somewhat. There's a provision in the Government Code that applies to local public agencies like the district and states that the lead auditor or the audit manager cannot conduct more than 6 consecutive audit reviews. So in other words, there has to be a change of that audit manager or audit partner after 6 consecutive years. So the law doesn't require agencies to utilize different auditing firms, but it does require some fresh set of eyes after 6 years, at least from an oversight managerial perspective.
And I believe that I read in the staff report that indeed Moss Adams does that. Like, we have had different auditors underneath their umbrella work with us.
That's correct. We've had different partners on the engagement throughout the years and terms of the contract.
Okay. Any more questions or comments?
No, I appreciate that, and I clearly feel that Moss Adams does a fantastic job, and I don't have any issues with their performance, and I see the benefits to the district. I just wanted, for transparency purposes, to be clear about, have a discussion about auditor rotation, and I appreciate Council Gross's description of perhaps what even the law states.
Every now and then.
So, as long as we're in compliance and Mike and his group are cracking the whip, keeping us on the right path, I'm fine with moving forward with A.
Okay, great. So do we have a motion?
So moved. Staff recommendation, option A.
Fantastic. Do we have a second?
The new A,
Pardon me?
the new A.
Oh, the A, I'm sorry. I
new
don't
A,
think I
not-
specified.
not the
The
old A.
new A.
Screen.
Yeah, this A.
For 3 years.
Right. Yeah, let's get it all done tonight. Let's save ourselves some future time. Okay, so do we have a second for approving A,
Just for
the new A,
Just for
For
clarity.
3.
for 3 years?
I'll second.
Thank you.
I thought I seconded it.
And you did. Okay, Joe seconded. Okay.
Joe got it.
We've got it. We have some overlap, and it's good. Repetition is good. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Director Laliotis?
Yes.
Vice President Bender?
Yes.
President Finn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good.
Here it is.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike.
It's good.
That brings us to, we have a little bit of routine business this evening to approve the treasurer's report for September 2022, which includes fund balances for the month of June and also disbursements for July 31st, 2022. Do we have any public comment on the treasurer's report?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. Do we have any director comment on the treasurer's report?
I had a question
Sure.
on it, and I sent Brian this question earlier, and I believe he answered it in an email, but I figured I'd bring up my question anyway. So on 18B, it says disbursements for the month ending July 31st, 2022 includes Government Code Section 53065.5 items. And in these disbursements, these are basically checks written out to vendors or to reimbursements for employees. And the question I had is that in these government code section items, it's reimbursements to employees or board members. And my question is, if there is a charge on a credit card that is considered a reimbursement for this, how is that kind of identified in this, in the disbursements? And Brian, do you want to kind of explain what you said, how you answered the question?
Yeah, thank you, Director Harris. If I understood the question correctly, the question was, are district-issued credit card or transactions included in these disclosures as reimbursements? And the answer is that credit card transactions are approved procurements or expenses, district procurements and expenses. They're not reimbursable because staff or board hasn't executed those expenses requiring a reimbursement. They're actually an approved procurement. And so whether we issue a purchase order or our buyer executes a procurement or staff uses an issued credit card, they're not reimbursable expenses. They're actual approved procurements or expenses by the district.
So for example, for commercial licensed drivers, they're required to get a medical certification, either 1 to 2 years, in order to retain their license. And there are vendors that the district may have that if the person goes to that vendor, then they just pay the vendor directly, and it wouldn't show up on that. But if somebody, goes to their own medical provider and gets the medical completed, then that would be considered a reimbursement for their personal medical, and that would be identified for this government code section. That's kind of what I've seen in one of the examples, so is that?
Are you asking me?
Well,
You're looking at
I'm
me.
just
I'm
kind of
happy-
posing that question that,
It depends, I think is the answer. It depends on how that employee paid for it. If that employee paid for that medical exam using his or her own money or credit card and then sought reimbursement from the district, and that single reimbursement was $100 or more, then it would be flagged under this report as being reportable under that government code section. If that employee utilized, pardon me, a district-issued credit card to pay for that, then there's no reimbursement. The charge is directly to the district pays it, there's no money going back to the employee, so that's not a reimbursement that would
so
show.
that transaction does not need to be identified.
Correct,
part
it's
of
not a
this thing.
reimbursement.
Okay,
Hopefully that answers your question.
that does.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, the board doesn't have any credit cards this year. We haven't had them for a couple of years, have we? Because they used to issue us the credit cards.
If a board member requires or would like an issued district credit card, we can accommodate that.
I wouldn't use it because I used it when we went to seminars and,
That would be an example of an expense. It's at the board, each board member's discretion.
we stuck my last one in that drawer. I have the drawer out.
And it's
still
in there.
With an expiration date of 2018.
Right.
It's expired in
Or
2018.
Yeah, I'm not one of those credit cards.
It's a good answer. Okay, if any other questions or comments, in which case, can we,
Joe, do you want to pay the bills that have already been paid?
Might as well, yeah, I'll move that we pay the bills.
excellent. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
There we go.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Already paid.
Thank you, Director Aguero,
Yes?
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Laliotis.
Yes.
Vice President Bender.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. And rounding the bend, the final stretch here, number 19, approve the minutes of August 3rd, 2022. Any public comment on the minutes?
As riveting as they are, I'm afraid not.
Dang it. Okay, I have nothing. Any comments or changes noted by the board? Silence, crickets. Tony, you look like you might want to say something, but you're not sure.
I'll say that I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of August 3rd, 2022.
Wonderful. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Thank you, Director Aguero,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Laliotis.
Yes.
Vice President Bender.
Yes.
President Finn.
Yes.
Many thanks.
Okay, great. We are going to be moving into closed session. First, we're going to take a 5 or 7 minute break, and then the board will be moving into closed session, and this meeting, most of y'all probably can go home. Yes, Council Gross.
Just for clarity, we'll move into closed session under item 20 as listed on the agenda.
Yeah, exactly what he said, under number 20 as listed on the agenda. So, okay, we're having a little recess.
Time is it?
to the full house. We have no reportable action, and this meeting is adjourned. There.
Excellent, thank you.